What's up, guys? Me and Samdogg Infamous 253 are going to talk some football.
Yeah, what is going on, everybody? Samdogg Infamous 253 in the house with the homie CG Ruthless Sports, and gonna be some interesting things going on this off season, and we just got a lot to talk about with some of the rumors that we're seeing after, of course, the infamous Tom Brady retirement, and we're seeing some other rumors going on about certain players and what we think might happen around the league, fire sales, you name it. We're gonna be talking about it, but what do you want to start off with first, CG?
Yeah, a lot of fire sales, a lot of change of the culture. But speaking of all this interviews, man, there's been talks that maybe Jim Harbaugh might go to the Vikings.
I've seen that on Instagram too, man. That's pretty insane. If Jim Harbaugh makes a comeback to the NFL, that might be a fun thing to see, especially seeing what he could possibly do with Kirk Cousins, because we know what Jim Harbaugh was capable of back with the 49ers, what he did with Kaepernick and what he did with Alex Smith back when you guys had him. He did some good things with Smith and Kaepernick back in his heyday with you guys. That to me, I think, was the prime of the Seahawks 49ers rivalry when Harbaugh was there.
Yeah, welcome to the offseason too, where you're hiding. I know you guys were out of the playoffs like a few weeks ago, man. I guess we're in the couch for this week. Tyler Parcher, you should just come onto the stream tonight, man. Me and Sam thought we were just probably going to go on for a little bit, not too long. But yeah, speaking of the offseason talks, yeah, I know a lot of this discussion about Jimmy Garoppolo, the trade, it's going to happen. The question is which team's going to pull that bait? Which team's going to make that move? And it's not like obvious, but it's pretty simple that we are going to move forward, because if we keep him, it's pretty much the cap space that's killing our team. So I don't think we're going to keep him. I think what we can do that might sound possibility is maybe try to sucker in a team to take Jimmy Garoppolo and then maybe get some extra compensation out of it and then take away the cap space out.
And you and me were both saying that there's a good possibility that freaking Pittsburgh could possibly bite that bait since Ben Roethlisberger retired, and they can't be entirely sold on Dwayne Haskins or Mason Rudolph. So Pittsburgh could be one. Who knows? Maybe Tampa Bay, because we don't know how much Tom Brady has worked with the young guy Kyle Trask, who the Buccaneers drafted in the recent draft out of the University of Florida. So that's one thing I've been interested about with Tampa Bay, is seeing what they're going to do with their next quarterback move too. And then, of course, you got all the Aaron Rodgers movements going on, all the rumors about Aaron Rodgers possibly, since his old OC Nathaniel Hackett is now the head coach of the Denver Broncos. There's possible rumors with the Packers possibly being one of those fire sale teams that you could possibly see Aaron Rodgers and possibly Devontae Adams follow Aaron Rodgers to Denver if Denver pulls the trigger on the Aaron Rodgers trade. And of course, Devontae Adams is probably, to me, by far the biggest free agent name on the market out of all the wide receivers. So that's going to be an interesting one to watch for sure.
Yeah, when you speak of all these guys hitting free agency, Devontae Adams to me will become the biggest name out there, because there's going to be one factor that might feature him into going into free agency. Like if Rodgers were to go to Denver, I think that it's a possibility. But then again, I wouldn't want to sleep on the Broncos wide receivers. They're not that bad. They're pretty good, but
yep, Judy Hamler, they got a good core. It's just the only thing holding them back is the quarterback.
yeah, but even adding Adams is a bonus for them too. So, but then there's talks of maybe he goes to Vegas with Derek Carr, and maybe that makes the most sense because they both played at Fresno State, or he just goes with the big money elsewhere and still produces. I mean, it's one or the other. But when I look into free agency, the thing that stands out to me is I don't expect us to go big like the previous years. I think we're going to cut our losses with D Ford because he's been holding our cap space. He's been definitely holding back on the money, and I don't think he's worth it. So I think we should be able to focus on retaining Arden Key, bring back Jordan Willis on a cheaper deal. I mean, these are the kind of guys you could depend on in the rotation. It depends on what happens, in the free agency, if we can make some moves. But if some team can sucker into the trade, like, hey, you can take Jimmy, just give us these kind of compensations, and then you take his money. There you go. But we'll see about it.
And if you free up the cap space, then you're going to definitely have some good space to be able to extend Deebo Samuel, who had a hell of a year this this year for you guys. Granted, some of the injuries, but then when he came back, the guy was just on fire, and there was just hardly anybody stopping him. I think you guys are going to give Debo a big deal this offseason too. I would not be surprised if Debo got the bag from you guys this offseason.
Yeah. Hey, maybe next time I'll get you in there, man. Hey, you should definitely jump in, Tyler, some other time, man. It's just me and Samdogg are just going to go in for a little bit, not maybe like 30 minutes or maybe a little longer, depending, because he's got to get going to the bowling, so that's why we're only doing this little chit chat. But backwood, yeah,
I gotta go roll the ball. I can't really do my bowling for him because I'm sitting down. But
speaks, yeah,
because I know
yes.
Rashad Penny was blowing up the way that he was for the Seahawks, so I'm anxious to see what the Seahawks are going to do with him. I think the free agent market, how hot will the free agent market be for Rashad Penny is another thing I'm kind of questioning too for how big Rashad Penny had, especially when he had as many in the last few weeks of the season, had as many long runs as Jonathan Taylor for the Indianapolis Colts, which was it was pretty exciting to watch when he got that when he had those explosive runs in the last few games of the season. Granted, in our loss to Chicago, and then the couple of touchdowns he had against Detroit, but mainly that 62-yard run that he had to dagger the Arizona Cardinals and stop them from winning the division. So, if the Seahawks bring back Rashad Penny, for me personally, I think it'll be on a franchise tag or maybe a 2-year, maybe $8 million deal. Brendan Nelson was talking about that too, and then about how much it would cost to possibly keep Rashad Penny. But the one issue that I've had with him in recent history was his availability because of all the times he's been injured. And that's always been my biggest pet peeve is the best ability is availability. So, but I was definitely happy for the young man for what he got. And by the way, happy 26th birthday to Rashad Penny today from what my buddy Kenny Burns says. And then Brendan just did a video about how much it would cost to keep Will Dissly. I have to check that one out yet, but we know there's going to be moves. Maybe Dwayne Brown, who if he stays another year, or maybe he retires because of how old he's getting. I really think for the Seahawks-wise, I think we're going to really need to make some moves on the offensive line with the left tackle and definitely on the trenches, and then add another piece of the pass rush. And one name I'm really hoping for that my buddy Michael Mathis mentioned is this dude from the Miami Dolphins, Emmanuel Ogbah, who's going to be a free agent. I think he had 9.5 sacks for the Dolphins. That was one name I'm intrigued at to hope that the Seahawks could target to add on to Darrell Taylor and Alton Robinson and maybe be a big boost for that pass rush with those younger guys. That's one name I'm definitely hoping for.
Yeah. But speaking of what John Jay just said, question: where are the priorities for the Seahawks to have in the offseason? What's up, Rams for life? And just go on to that question. My bad.
Yeah, I'd say do a lot of work addressing the trenches for me. You know me, I'm a big preacher of offensive line with get the protection for the quarterback, Russell Wilson, which we still don't know what's going to happen with him this offseason. But I think it's looking like he's most likely going to stay with Seattle. But I would say if you're going to we have some good cap space to work with. So I think the key thing for the Seahawks is work on the trenches this offseason. Dedicate this entire offseason to the trenches.
Yeah. And speaking of the question from Backwoods Bully, man, Arden Key depends on what kind of contract he wants, but dude, I would definitely keep him. I think he's kind of proven his worth, even though he had a slow start in the first half, but second half of the season, he started being consistent. He's gonna be asking like a similar price like Kerry Hyder did in Seattle. And I'm hoping that you guys don't make that move, man. Just stay away from our players for once.
I don't know. I'm not the GM or Pete Carroll, so it's all on him. What up, Tommy?
I'm just messing with you. I'm giving you a hard time on that. But yeah, dude, Tommy's in the house. Anytime Samdogg's into the stream, Tommy's coming to follow you.
Yeah, Tommy's awesome, man. He was giving me crap about some of my picks that I've been making, though. It's just I'm trying to make my best picks. They're called picks for a reason. I'm not guaranteeing that I'm going to get it right all the time. I know I'm going to get picks wrong when I do game picks and all, too. But, Now, let's get on to the fire sale topic. Now, Brendan Nelson, the team with the most over the cap space, obviously, is the New Orleans Saints with the most, I think they're 71 mil over the cap space. So we know the moves that they're going to have to make. How much they're paying Cam Jordan, and they're paying a lot. for these guys. I mean, Cam Jordan could possibly be on the move, and whoever else they decide to move on. I don't know if they're going to trade Michael Thomas during the season or during the offseason, but the Saints could be a major fire sale move because there's no way they're going to build around freaking Taysom Hill to try to go on a run with Taysom Hill. So the Saints are definitely at the top of that fire sale.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, speaking of the Saints, it's because of their cap space. They're very low on cap space, and Sean Payton's he retired, and a new coach, man. I wonder who the Saints are going to hire, because I'm hearing like there's connections that they can either hire. Is they like that Lions defensive coordinator, what's his name, Aaron Glenn or something, and then they were just pushing to get Byron Leftwich. But don't be surprised if they make that push to get Chargers offensive coordinator Joe Lombardi because of the connection to Sean Payton.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Wasn't Joe Lombardi originally with the Saints at one point? And I also remember, I think Joe Lombardi is one of the great grandsons of the legendary Vince Lombardi.
And plus, he worked under Sean Payton, so that could be the one surprising hire that you don't see coming. I mean, if the Saints want to keep that transition similar to after Sean Payton, then you got to hire somebody like a Joe Lombardi because he'll at least build the same offense.
Yeah, and I think the Saints are definitely going to be eyeing quarterback in the draft this year too. I mean, they're still feeling Breeze. That's an obvious fact.
All
right, go ahead.
Yeah, the Saints. Okay, speaking of the Saints, they don't have much cap space, so of course they're going to have to make some moves, some tough decisions. And when you look at it that way, it is going to come down to it.
Cam Jordan is going to be one top. Brendan Nelson was saying Cam Jordan could be a top move. Ask him if he'll. What can you show that again? That Jets guy. If the Jets get Hamilton with Hawks first round pick, nah. I expect us to just build through the later rounds. I'm just gonna sit back, enjoy watching the first round of the draft, but I'm just gonna see I just want to see what happens. But for me, I'm just hoping that we address the trenches. But other than that, fire sale team number 2, I would have to say the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, when you speak of fire sales, it could depend on Rodgers leaving Green Bay. That's the part that could be the fire sale when you say Aaron Rodgers leaves.
Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, and some of their defensive pass rushers. Maybe the Packers before like the June 1st trade deadline, because there's a lot of cap space on pass rusher Kenny Clark as well. And then, of course, you still got Zadarius Smith and Packers. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. Granted, if they trade Rodgers, that's where most of the cap is going to leave from. And there's no way in hell they're going to make a run with Jordan Love. Obviously, Jordan Love is not the future of the Green Bay Packers. I still do not understand why the Packers even traded up to freaking get Jordan Love. I just remember how shocked I was for that.
Yeah. Hey, here's an interesting question by Rams for Life. I think he just puts it at a random question. Would you trade Russell for Mac Jones and 2 firsts? Dude, that would be kind of like a really interesting trade.
Yeah, then we'd be on the quarterback hunt again. I don't think Mac Jones would thrive in the system, but
oh, okay.
I mean, if we're gonna get rid of Russell, I think for me, like I said, I don't think Russell's going anywhere, but I think when the time comes, I mean, well, we're gonna obviously have a plan in place to get the next quarterback in the draft whenever we get a first round pick again. If we end up going bad and taking a couple last place finishes and go with the number 1 pick, then I think that's when, depending on what happens with Russell, it might be a little while, but it's hard for me to say right now.
Yeah, it could depend on the future for Seattle, but I think you guys are in a situation to where Russell might just stick around anyways. I mean, it's all off-season talk. I think whatever comes down between Pete Carroll and Russell will determine whether he's going to go anywhere or not. So, and then you look at the other outcome of other teams. I think when you look at the future of other teams that's going further, you could think, hey, the Rams are making that strong push with Stafford. I think they're going to work out a new contract with him because I think his current contract that he originally signed with the Lions is going to expire, I think, unless Rams for Life has better info on it. I don't really keep track of the Rams like everybody else, but I think Stafford is going to enter free agency after the season if I'm mistaken.
And plus, the Rams could possibly, they could possibly be making some big fire sales if they fail this Super Bowl run with, all the money they're paying Donald. They're paying a lot of players too. It's like, I don't know, like how the Rams have managed to still get away with it. Brendan Nelson was saying something about the
See,
Rams.
yeah,
Away.
see, he's right about it. See, I guess he would know it because I had a feeling because I think he originally had his current contract with Detroit and they made that trade move. So, you know what? Here's the one interesting factor that if something this were to happen, let's say we do move on from Jimmy Garoppolo. And let's say we're not really sure about Trey Lance, but this is just hypothetically. Let's just say Las Vegas wants their quarterback, and let's say they want to get rid of Carr, and we get Carr for that trade. Let's just say it's a possibility that this could be a Stafford move because he's on a 1-year contract and he wants to win.
Yeah.
But what would you think of that if that happened?
If Stafford went to the
No. If the Niners traded Jimmy Garoppolo to the Raiders and they swapped for Derek Carr, what would you think of that? Like just out like possibility.
Well, I would have to see how Derek Carr would go in that Kyle Shanahan system. That could be a big change. I mean, look at what 1 year out of Detroit did for Matthew Stafford with Sean McVay. I mean, with a good, high offensive, powered-minded head coach, then, I mean, change could be good for Derek Carr going out of the Raiders. But, we got to learn not throwing those interceptions. But that would be something. That would be something.
Yeah, like can you imagine what he would do with a better supporting cast that he's ever had? I mean, no disrespect to the Raiders, but they seem like the Detroit Lions of their own version. But I think he would have been at least benefiting with a better change of scenery. Yeah, and then, but the thing I see about Jimmy Garoppolo is I think the more likely possibility for Garoppolo to go to is I'm looking between the Steelers and the Bucks. Steelers and Buccaneers make the most sense.
Yeah. Steelers and Tampa Bay. Who knows? Maybe possibly the Washington football team, maybe. Which they could possibly get name leaks soon from what I also seen.
Yeah. Washington team, we call them the Commanders now as we speak.
Yeah. And then what about the Dallas Cowboys on that on the possibility of a fire sale too? Cowboys have Brendan Nelson had the Cowboys in on the fire sale too with Dexter Lawrence. I think that's his name. The pass rusher.
DeMarcus Lawrence.
DeMarcus Lawrence. Yeah. Why did I say Dexter Lawrence? I think Dexter Lawrence on the Giants.
That's the one from the Giants.
Yeah. DeMarcus Lawrence. He was a name that Brendan Nelson threw out, which I don't think DeMarcus Lawrence has really been doing much for Dallas. And some of their offensive line could be on part of that fire sale as well in Dallas too. So Cowboys will be an interesting team to watch during the offseason too.
Well, I don't know. If you want to see a car wreck offseason, I guess you can't go wrong with Dallas. But you know which one could be the most interesting team that could be a car wreck is Green Bay.
Green Bay.
I mean, it depends on Rodgers.
If Rodgers leaves, we know Green Bay is going down the crapper.
I mean, don't underestimate Jordan Love. I mean, the guy's got a little bit of experience. I think you got to give this kid a chance. And plus, wasting all those years of sitting on the bench doesn't really do no favors for all quarterbacks, dude. So I'm not just saying it because of the same boat with Trey Lance. I think you got to give the kid a fair chance, too. So you don't know what to expect. I mean, plus the NFC North is one of the trash. I mean, it's not the best division. If it was NFC West, then I would see Jordan Love struggle, of course. But he's playing in a different division.
We all know NFC West is the best division. That's by far and away. We got the best quarterbacks in our division so far, and we have like the toughest defenses in our division too. I mean, granted, I know my team just fired Ken Norton Jr., which a lot of Seahawks fans are very happy about that. So one of the other things I'm definitely going to be looking forward to is our search for a new defensive coordinator. We don't know who it's going to be yet, but I'll talk about it when it happens. But I know Brendan Nelson threw out some names, including the Bears, someone from the Bears, Desai. He seemed pretty excited about that dude too. I would love to personally get him. I want someone that brings a lot of pressure to opposing quarterbacks. So there are some names out there, but when it happens, then I'll talk about it with that. But I just hope that we can get a good defensive coordinator that does a lot more and plays better coverage than what Ken Norton did with the zones. I'm tired of like playing like many yards off of certain receivers and that too, which is why many teams were able to kill us in our secondary. I never liked and a lot of people are happy he's gone. So
Yeah, I think Ken Norton is a better position coach, if anything else. I don't think he's really much of a defensive coordinator. He fell with the Raiders,
he
so
was
the
better
Raiders was.
coach. He was a linebacker coach in our Super Bowl run in 2013. I thought he was better as a linebacker coach than a defensive coordinator.
Corey Davis. That's a really good question. Will we sign a backup quarterback for Jimmy Garoppolo? I mean, not. I mean, for Trey Lance. I mean, the question is, we probably might, but it probably won't be as much. It probably be like a league minimum deal. Maybe we pick up somebody we're familiar with. Maybe you bring back Nate Sudfeld and you put him in as your backup, and you don't expect him to compete with Trey Lance, or maybe you just go into free agency and go pick up a journeyman quarterback who can at least back him up, at least depending on which ones are available. Or you just draft a rookie quarterback and develop him, get him in the late round, and maybe you hope that he could be somebody you could depend on the bench. Yeah.
That's one way to do it. And then plus, I don't know what the backup quarterback was. That's an interesting question too. I mean, I don't know if we'll bring back Geno. I somehow have a feeling Geno would be back, but I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe possibilities. There are some possibilities. I saw with Hawks Nest and some other content creators saying maybe there's a possibility the Seahawks could try to draft a backup quarterback in one of the later rounds too for the possible future. And so you always want to try to have a good, reliable backup that you can build up and hope that maybe when your main starter leaves that you could have a good future around too. So I definitely like that idea too. I mean, look at all the years Aaron Rodgers sat behind Brett Favre, before he became the starter. Patrick Mahomes sat a year behind Alex Smith in Kansas City. And what's another example of that? I mean, obviously Steve Young behind Joe Montana all those years.
And then currently everybody's making that debatable question about Trey Lance learning under Jimmy. So that's another question mark there, but we don't know yet.
Yeah, but there are some good comparisons on that too. But whew.
Yeah. Okay. For once, I'll agree with what Rams for Life just said. Yeah, Jimmy ain't that bad. He wins, but Shanny just sucks at his play call in fourth quarter. He doesn't know how to manage the game at times. That's what makes me very questionable. But can he at least get an actual quarterback who can actually deliver? Because there's times Jimmy just doesn't even know what he's doing most of the time. Sometimes he plays great and then he just blows it away. And that's what blows me off about Jimmy Garoppolo. I think sometimes the one thing that hurts about Shanahan is he just gets too cute to a certain extent. And it just, dude, like, I feel like he needs to take some lessons from his father and be taught how to freaking finish games.
Yeah, because like Mike Shanahan with Denver all those years. Another example, I'll tell you what, Andy Reid got way too greedy. Reid and Mahomes got way too greedy in that AFC Championship game. My first thought, I was watching my dad, was like, what the heck were the Chiefs thinking trying to go up 18 when they should have just taken the easy 3 and gone up 14? I did not get that one at all, man. I thought, and I even said, you seen on my posts on social media, if the Chiefs lost that game, it was going to be because they did not take the easy field goal before halftime. And look what happened. And I even said later on because that kick at the end, it's like, how valuable were those 3 points before halftime? How valuable were those 3 points? Because that kick that Bucker made to send the game to overtime would have been a game winner instead of a game tying kick. So
yeah, pretty much. Like, I think that's what really hurted the Chiefs there. They were being too cute. And when you do stuff like that, it's at a certain extent, but man, this is what makes us the difference. I guess sometimes those 3 points do matter when you do have a chance. Like you said, it could have been a game winner, but it went to overtime. So that's what really hurt the Chiefs there.
And then Mahomes tried to throw that ball to Tyreek Hill, tipped off of it, and Von Bell got the interception. Joe Burrow did the same, hitting Jamar Chase, and hence the Bengals are in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's the one thing that kind of seems really bad about. I mean, I'm not discrediting Andy Reid because he won the Super Bowl, but I just think that's what really hurts Andy Reid most of the time. He gets the same way. But yeah, I mean, I don't get it, man. It's like we let a choke artist win a damn Lombardi. We let you guys have one of your biggest history in sports. Like, you guys get the tip, and we just live with this bitterness, and then we had to go through the Rams. I mean, in 1989, it could have been a different story because you definitely had the other way around where we dominated them, but it's not the same. It's like we're starting to become the laughing stock of the decade. We're becoming the Cleveland Browns, and it's just, I don't know, dude. it's at a point where we deserve to actually get a Super Bowl, but we just don't have the right coaching guy who can actually be gutsy. I don't. The thing I don't like about Shanahan is he's not tough enough to be gutsy. He needs to be a little gutsy, have little balls at least. Like
Yeah.
sometimes I'm just wondering why is he not going for it on 4th and 2, or at least go for it on a situation. If you
Sometimes
would have did that, that would have made a difference.
that was some things about some certain plays that we were wondering about with Pete Carroll from time to time with his decision makings. Like one time we played the Rams in 2020 when we tried to get them on a long hard count. Was like when we were at midfield, it's like why didn't we just make an attempt to just try to keep the drive alive? That's
Yeah, that's the only question mark I look at. When you look at that way, it's kind of like head scratching with them. It's like, dude, why not you just get aggressive?
yeah. That's
I mean, a lot of teams do it.
and that's why I wanted Pete to like let Waldron make some of the play calls with our offensive coordinators. Like sometimes don't just take over the play calling of just you got to let some of your coordinators make the certain play calls to help you win the games too, because they coordinators can make the differences too.
But you got to give them some saying on the calls too. I guess it depends on how the coach looks at it. I think they have to pick by the filter of how they approve it or not, because the play caller just designs the plays. But if Shanahan doesn't like it, then he's probably just going to say nah.
Yeah. Well, Shanahan's an offensive guy, so he would know a
Yeah,
lot.
he's very innovative. I'm not disputing it. I think he's very creative when it comes to running the ball, and then he can make some good play action design plays. But the only problem is he doesn't have an actual quarterback who could do a play action like that. We've tried with Jimmy, and it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. And then also freaking just, screen passes were also another kryptonite. One thing I'd like to see my team get better at is defending screen passes, especially when we got killed on it in that Titans game in week 2. Ooh. But Samdogg, who should go? Who should go out? Pete Carroll or Russell Wilson? Well, Pete's getting older up in age. I know we just fired Norton and all too, but I think the coach should go first, though. I mean, as much as I love Pete and had that custom jersey, I think Pete Carroll's getting up there in age, and I think he needs to retire soon. But he's definitely always going to be a legend for us, and definitely deserves a place on the Ring of Honor. That's for sure. But yeah, I got
Well,
another look at Carroll, but his time might be coming to an end soon. Just saying.
well, he's getting up in age, but the guy doesn't look like he's aged one bit. I mean,
Yeah,
you could just tell like the way. I mean, some people say he's relatable to a lot of young players, and
it's
people
his
just don't even notice.
players love his energy. That's another thing that a lot of people love his energy. He just tries to bring. I mean, he may be old, but he acts young and just brings a lot of energy. Always is energetic with his players and just tries to stay positive. So that's one thing I've always liked was his energy, and I think that was one of the things he found in me by the tunnel was because I always bring a lot of energy when you see my player interaction videos and all that stuff too.
Yeah, I don't know how you like. So you got season tickets to those games, huh?
Yeah, since 2004.
Damn. So how do you get those? How much they usually charge for those, man?
Well, usually it's with me and my dad. I mean, I usually don't like to get into that detail because one day I'm going to inherit those tickets, so that's when I'll find out for sure.
Oh, so you're just so
But
your
that was,
dad's the one that so it's your dad with the season tickets. Oh, okay, I get it. I
I
mean,
mean,
I never had a chance to inherit season tickets or nothing. I just go in when I can. I mean, I see you post your videos consistently at the game, and I'm like, man, if I ever had the money to go out to the Niners game, I would. But it's not like I ever had the luxury to do it. I had to go through the hard way. And some people I knew had season tickets, and some people that just didn't have it. But speaking of somebody that I know of who has a season ticket, is some OG Rams fan that lives right down this area. He said in the near future it will take me out to the LA Coliseum to watch the Niners and Rams play out there. So that'd be kind of cool.
well, it's SoFi Stadium now because they're in SoFi. But
SoFi Stadium, yeah, that's what I mean.
yeah,
But
I've been.
I'm thinking about maybe saving up and going to Las Vegas and go to that Niners and Vegas takeover or some shit.
You guys play the Raiders next season?
Las Vegas.
Oh, you definitely should go to Vegas, man. You gotta also let me know how that stadium is. Do a vlog inside of there too. But also,
Yeah.
we'll talk about some other stories about some past games that we've gone to in recent history, like our first game. Like I remember, I think my first ever Seahawk game. I never got to go to the old Kingdom. My first Seahawks game was in 2000 at Husky Stadium, and I think it was against the Kansas City Chiefs back during our earlier years. It was the rookie year of Sean Alexander and the final year of Hall of Famer Cortez Kennedy. I think we lost that game too, but my first Seahawks game was in Husky Stadium. Did you ever go to any games at Candlestick? Like, what do you remember about your first time going to like Candlestick, if you did?
Candlestick was 2008 season finale against the Washington, you know who, the team that used to be the Redskins. But I went down there. You had Sean Hill at quarterback. You had Jason Hill, who was our other receiver, Josh Morgan. Arnez Battle at the time was pretty much like our best receiver at one point, but he wasn't all that. Our running back was Sean Foster when Frank Gore was injured. A lot of the guys we had, it was based by Singletary. He was the interim coach when we fired Mike Nolan that year, and we won that game in overtime, 17-20, I believe. But that was my first experience going to a game, and then I started coming around these games a lot because people started taking me and inviting me to places, and then I started finding some club stuff where they go to these games. So I started catching on with people, and I started to say, hey, maybe I'll just go maybe once or twice a year to check it out. And been coming around Levi Stadium. So I think this was my 8th game attending Levi Stadium, because I went to my first Levi Stadium game was when they had the first grand opening game against the Chargers. Or I think it was the second or the first game. I don't know which one it was, but I went to that one. And then in 2017 was the Thursday night football game where the Rams played and Hoyer was the quarterback, and we barely lost that game by 2 points, I believe. It was like, I think it was 38-40 or something like that. But it was a high score.
I remember watching that game with my stepdad. That was an insane Thursday night game, man. I could not believe how scoring that game was. I think the highest scoring game I've ever attended for me as a Seahawks fan was the day when Pete gave me the jersey and we had the shootout against Deshaun Watson. And I think we won that game 41-38. And I just remember how crazy that freaking game was. That's the highest scoring game I've ever been to in all my years of having season tickets for the Seahawks.
Yeah, and then the worst experience was going to that Dallas game where we went down there. I think the score was 41-10 or something like that.
Yeah, my worst probably for me going to games, there were a couple times seeing my team get blown out at home. My senior year of high school, we got destroyed by the New York Giants during my senior year. I remember Eli just put up some big numbers on us. And then 2017, when the freaking Rams just ran over us when we had all those injuries, and Blair Walsh costed us our season. I remember just the Rams put up that 42 game in our house too. I remember how bad. That's the worst. That's probably the lowest I've seen from the first time we missed the playoffs in the Russell Wilson era until obviously this year with the second time we missed the playoffs with him. But that Rams game was pretty bad when we just got ran over by Todd Gurley and they were just killing us. Freaking Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp and you name it. They just destroyed us ever since.
Yeah.
And I remember I was at the game in LA where we won 16-10 too. That was before injured, with the exception of Earl Thomas.
Yeah, and then speaking of another game experience, the Battle of the Bay, which was in 2018 when we played the Raiders, that was pretty much one of the most satisfying experiences to go there. It was a great game.
Nick Mullins.
Nick Mullins was looking like he was looking like Montana out there that day. So he was looking pretty good that day. And then haven't attended games for a while because of the injuries and plus a lot of difficult issues with family and a lot of stuff going through the tragedy, and then didn't have enough money to go out. So I was sidelined for a long time because I had multiple surgeries on the ankle because I was like devastated with injuries. Even played in the semi-football league also and didn't have much time for everything. So it was like I was getting in shape and I was playing the game for at least a couple of years, and then I just hanged up the cleats and just didn't even have no interest in coming back. But
I tore my ACL in the 9th grade. You see the scar on my leg right there in the middle?
Man, that's terrible. That's terrible. I still have that scar. I still have that scar on that ankle because I tore every bit of the fibula or something. So they had to require surgery twice.
This is an ACL surgery scar, man. One of the worst injuries in football. I got that in 9th grade on the only Saturday practice that we had.
Oh, so you tore your ACL on a practice, dude? I remember I asked the only injury that I had the most common was concussions, and every now and then, dude, the coaches weren't even sure if I even had it or not, and I still played. That's the weird part. But
Yeah.
then going to I went to the Cardinals game this year. That was terrible by far, and then going to the Falcons game was cool. But I don't know. I don't know how many games I went total, but I went. I think I went plenty before, but I just lost track of them all. Like there's
I
quite a few.
One of the most satisfying games I went to in regular season, like you mentioned with that game in your last Battle of the Bay when you guys killed the Raiders with Nick Mullins, like a big blowout like that. I'll tell you what, for me, for biggest blowout for me that was really satisfying was 2012 when we blew out the Cardinals 58-0. That was
So you gotta rub it to those other Cardinal fans.
yeah, I just remember just
I gotta rub it to the Raiders.
freaking when Sherman got that pick six and Marshawn Lynch had like I think he had three rushing touchdowns and we hit 2 touchdowns to Zach Miller and just some special teams. Oh, and then Malcolm Smith. I remember back when then they used to have a rule. I think they took it away now. Like when you're trying to return a punt and the guy fumbles it, that you can return it for a touchdown. I mean, did they take that away? Because I remember Malcolm Smith when the guy for Arizona fumbled the punt and Malcolm Smith, because he got hit and he fumbled it, and Malcolm Smith was able to take it in for a touchdown. They gave us a touchdown on special teams right there. Did they change the rule with that ever since?
I think they've done it. It's stupid, but I think they've changed certain rules of it because they think it's unfair to advantage. But I think it depends on the play. But speaking of it, Corey Davis is asking me a question. If you were GM for the 49ers, what defensive line will you bring back? Well, I mean, we have to focus on maybe giving Bosa a new contract so he doesn't go nowhere, but that would be a priority to get. But if I had to choose a player to bring back, gotta say DJ Jones. He's very viable, very underrated. He gets the job done. I don't know what kind of asking price he'll get, but I think he's the one main reason why our defensive line has been really solid against the run. But I definitely wouldn't mind bringing back Arden Key. It just depends on what kind of price he's looking for. Jordan Willis, you can bring him back on a cheaper deal because he doesn't have big value. You can bring him back on a bargain. So I'd be okay with either guys, but I would personally focus on DJ Jones first because I think he doesn't get enough recognition, but he does do a good job. But bringing Key would be a nice way to go. I think bringing Key would be like bringing somebody who can be on the starting lineup. I think he's more of a starter than he is in the rotation. He's kind of showed flashes.
Yeah, it's kind of tough to say if I was a GM who I'd bring back. I mean, I'd try to get Penny on a good deal with how well he's run, but hoping that he stays upright and stays healthy and stays available. I mean, Chris Carson. I mean, all the injuries he's been having, he's never played a full season. But I think I'd be ready to cut ties with Carson if he doesn't do another full season. And if Penny ends up being the guy, just make sure you have a good offensive line for him to get open holes on, because when he gets open holes, you see he has the speed, the burst of speed. That's one of the things I like is his burst of speed.
Yeah, well,
When he had that 62-yard run against the Cardinals and other such plays, when he just gets going, he's just gone off to the races.
I mean, the guy was injury prone when you guys drafted him, but now he's becoming somebody you can depend on. But that was the one question was about him was his durability because you guys drafted him. He was a good running back coming out of San Diego State, and he had the most rushing yards that year. And then the one thing about Seattle is, why would you want to bring back Chris Carson? This guy has never stayed healthy. I mean, when he's very healthy, he's a very effective back, but
he's physical. That's another thing. Carson I like his physicalness, but I just don't like his durability that he's always injured all the time. So it's got to be coming to about that time where we move on from Carson and maybe try to hit on someone late in the later rounds of the draft again. But it'll be interesting.
yeah.
I mean, if happens to him again this next year, then I think it would be time to just cut our losses and just move on. If he's back.
Yeah, Yeah, like speaking of him, dude, it's kind of like the same way with Raheem Mostert. I like Raheem Mostert. Don't get me wrong, dude. You're very explosive. You're a very difference maker at running back, but dude, you never stay healthy. And it's like, dude, I really want him to come back, but then there's a side of me that says, nah, he can't even be reliable. Like
With a
I like what I see out of Elijah Mitchell.
Yeah, with the way Elijah Mitchell's running, I would move on from Mostert and make Mitchell your primary guy. I mean, he was. I mean, granted, in our second matchup, Mitchell was killing us on the ground. I remember he was giving me fits during that second round. Like, you got to be able to tackle Mitchell. Mitchell was being all shifty and everything. He was a tough sob to bring down. And then of course, then when you guys were killing us with Kittle in that game too.
Yeah, I think a lot of it does factor, but then looking into free agency, Jeff Wilson, Mostert, they're going to be hitting free agency. I think Jamichael Hasty's on another contract. I think so. I
Yeah,
think what I'm looking at running backs going forward is I want to see what we can do with Trey Sermon. I really want to give this guy a chance. Yeah, he was behind the depth chart. Yes, he hasn't quite played the consistency yet. But I think in year two, you're going to see this Trey Sermon break into the scene. You're going to see the Oklahoma version, not the Ohio State soft Sermon. No, no, no. It's the Oklahoma version we want. We don't want this Ohio State Buckeye version. We want the guy from Oklahoma who's breaking tackles and catching the ball off the backfield.
that that's one thing that you always want to have in a great running back: breaking tackles, being able to catch the ball out of the backfield, and just physical running. I mean, we had that for some great amount of years when we had Marshawn Lynch, especially when we first got Russell Wilson. But I mean, we had a lot of great times with that with Marshawn Lynch, just how physical he was and shifty. Definitely,
Yeah,
that's what I think is a great what brings out the best running backs when you have all those abilities like that, like you just pointed out.
yeah, and speaking of Marshawn Lynch, man, he was coming off the Buffalo Bills, and I guess the Buffalo Bills drafted C.J. Spiller and thinking he was better because of the production, but I guess it came back to haunt them. So it
They
is what it is.
we fleeced Buffalo on that trade. We fleeced the Bills on that trade.
I
I
forgot
actually
what was the I
also
forgot what the trade was.
Yeah, and then I remember another story when from one of your earlier years, the trade that you guys made during the draft that you made with the Patriots because of Dallas Cowboys, and you were threatening to get Jerry Rice, and then you guys made that trade with the Patriots to jump the Cowboys to get Jerry Rice. That was, I think, a very good trade on your guys' part too to get freaking Jerry Rice in the '80s.
Yeah, I think that was the move that definitely gave us some hope in the franchise. I mean, of course, we had other receivers in the past, like Dwight Clark, who was another guy. Then Freddie Solomon was another good guy. You had some other weapons, but then John Taylor we got later round. We got in the third round in 1986, I believe. But other than that, we have been invested. We've been doing well when it comes to the late round picks. We've always been hitting the ballpark with these players. But George Kittle, nobody thought in the fifth round he would be where he's at.
I wish my Seahawks would have taken him over Tedrick Thompson. I remember thinking the Seahawks they were calling Kill, say they were going to trade up to get him, but then we took Tedrick Thompson, and then you guys hit the nail on George Kittle, and that
Yeah, George Kittle has been everything but advertising, but more. I mean, people were talking about him being more of a blocker in college, very limited. Wasn't used much during his playing days, but he had 10 career touchdowns and 43 career catches and 700 something yards.
and that was coming out of Iowa State, right? No, not Iowa State, Iowa with C.J. Beathard.
Yeah, he was mostly asked to block in Ferentz offense. That's usually how they do it. They're not really the stats wise. They're more of a run first team, I think.
I remember when we drafted Disley out of Washington, and Disley they said he was the best blocking tight end, and I never imagined that Disley would be what he was for us when he was hot. Despite the injuries, Disley didn't really have that big of a year this year. I think he only had one touchdown this year for us, which was in our loss to the Steelers when he caught it from Geno Smith. So, I mean, I especially like when Disley's a heck of a blocker. I just don't get why we did. I mean, I know we had Gerald Everett this year too, so I'm anxious. I would not mind personally for me if I was also GM. I would possibly with even though he had the bad game against the Niners, but when he's gotten the ball a lot of times, other than that, he's made some big plays. I would want to bring back Gerald Everett again. Granted, we got him on a 1-year deal.
Yeah, Trevor Everett is intriguing. I think it's based by his durability, but I think you guys can get him on a cheaper deal unless he wants to go elsewhere. But speaking of your core players, like some players hitting into free agency, I think DJ Reed's supposed to be hitting free agency, right?
I think so too. And Brendan did another video talking about how much it would cost to keep Reed too. So
I
look,
mean, I'm thinking a lot like hypothetically, man. Like I think his value would be just like Quan Williams would be.
and then and plus I really did like what we had from Trey Brown until he got injured. I mean, I like the how good he was playing for us. The guy we got out of Oklahoma, Trey Brown. I'm really hoping that he can come back strong for us next year too, and in year two, and play a full season because he brought that physicalness at a cornerback that I haven't seen in a long time. You know. I'm just trying to make sure I'm saying it right, but
Yeah, Trey Brown. Trey Brown's a beast. He plays bigger than his size. That's why I wanted him in the draft. But we went with Ivory Thomas and then we went with Lenore. Lenore's a work in progress. I like Lenore from Oregon, but I think the fact that he didn't even get much playing time after that, then Ivory Thomas eventually became better and then moved into the depth chart. I mean, I want to say that maybe we could play Lenore at the nickel spot, and maybe we don't have to go as big in free agency to sign some guys like that. But I think that would be the ideal fit to bring somebody like DJ Reed because of the familiarity and the fact that he fits into the nickel spot. But I think you guys are using him as more of a premier corner. So I think that's not. I think he's done well both ways, if I'm mistaken.
yeah, he did pretty all right with us too. He was good, but I think we might also go. I don't know if we'll make another move for some other secondary players in the draft. So secondary is another thing I'm going to be watching for this offseason. Plus, I don't know what's going to happen with Quandre Diggs ever since his injury in week 18. Because I know Diggs is going to be another big name to hit the free agent market at the safety position too for our secondary. So I don't know if we bring Diggs back. I mean, Diggs had like 6 interceptions for us this past season. I loved what
Oh,
Diggs
he's a
did.
beast.
I mean, I would love to bring him back, but I gotta see what the market's gonna be like for Quandre Diggs. I think there's gonna be some market out there that might pay him a little more than what we might offer.
What does he play? Like free safety or strong safety?
I think he's a free safety. Free safety.
Yeah, I think a team like Kansas City might want to pull that move because Tyrell Matthews would be too much. I think that would be the guy they want to go with. And plus, it's very similar to getting somebody like a Matthew to a Diggs. And I think that might be the shocking factor is Tyrell Matthew might even hit the market. And he's already like a guy that people already know about. And then
Yeah.
you got Quandre Diggs, another proven commodity that's coming from your guys' secondary. So that could be somebody that it could be a couple of teams that want him.
Yeah, I remember when we first made that trade for him, and my buddy Michael told me about that. I remember one Lions fan said they hated that trade too, and I thought if they hated that trade, we must have gotten a good deal out of it, and it definitely proved to be a good deal to get him. Whew. Another thing,
So
other than defense, I think what mainly affected Rashad Penny's sudden burst at the end of last season was when we got Adrian Peterson. Because I heard Adrian Peterson had been mentoring Rashad Penny, and Penny looked like he had taken it to heart from what he was learning from Adrian Peterson.
yeah, I mean, if you're getting an older veteran and you're supposed to get some more playing time, I would be mad too.
Yeah, but I mean, Peterson was injured, but Peterson, like I said, Peterson was mentoring Rashad Penny, and Penny must have taken his lessons to heart too. And I remember, I think that was one of my other highlights of the year. Granted, I know that his career is just about done, but meeting Adrian Peterson to me, I know you met some of your legendary 49er players, but other than that, to meet Adrian Peterson, that was pretty epic, man. I was pretty happy about that. I took that chance, but I saw him signing some older jerseys, like some of his old Minnesota Vikings jerseys that some people brought, but even if I didn't get the autograph, I knew I wanted to take the chance just to say I met the guy, and that was pretty cool taking that selfie and getting that quick little video.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I'm done yet. Remember?
yeah. Speaking of the Adrian Peterson, I do have an Oklahoma throwback jersey of his. I don't know if you've seen me wear that before.
I don't think I ever have, but also because I know you met.
I'll be right back. Let me show you the Oklahoma jersey then.
All right, and then
Give me a
tell me
second.
let's talk about the guys that you met during the season 2 that you were trying to interview. Whew, chill for a little bit. Yeah.
All right. I'm here.
Right,
Sorry, man. Let's see.
That's his Oklahoma.
Yep.
Ooh.
Adrian Peterson, the OU jersey, throwback. I even got the Mayfield jersey too, but this is one of my favorite players.
My dude from the cigar bar, Scotty, would definitely like that jersey, man.
Yeah, dude, I'm a big OU fan.
But yeah, so about the players, the legends from your 49ers that you were trying to interview, I mean, that was cool seeing your video when you got that fist bump from Joe Staley.
Yeah, Joe Staley did it quickly, and it made it feel like he hit me pretty hard on the finger. But he's a firing guy. To Kill Spikes was cool. Whitner was cool, and then catching the great future Hall of Famer Brian Young was nice.
Yeah,
I don't know. Do I have to relive that moment that I went to that game, even though we lost pretty bad? But I've always got this memory on my head. One of the best days that I can say as a fan. I don't know. You've seen it before, right?
Yeah. When you were trying to set up that interview with who was that, a Spikes or was that someone else?
Brian Young, no?
Brian Young, yeah, Brian Young. That's what I was trying to remember. Whew, all right. I think 50,
Yeah, it was cool.
I think 50 minutes.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think we're good, man. I think we're good then.
All right,
All
man.
right.
Thank you once again for having me on to do some football talk, man. We'll definitely have to get some more going on again, maybe with some of our roundtable brethrens, and just we gotta have some fun with this, man, you know?
Yeah, for sure, man. It was great talking. I know we went on for 50 plus minutes. I was thinking maybe 30 minutes, but hey, it's always good to talk with you, man. Hey, maybe one day we'll both play in the bowling league. I might need to pursue that.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
I like bowling.
Yep. My highest game ever is a 279. I just got it, but I'm kind of been in a little bit of a bad funk, so I got to get my mojo back, man.
Yeah, get your mojo. Good luck. Are you going to practice or are you just competing?
Well, I'm in the league too, so competing and practice and competing.
All right, man. I might need to check it out, man. There's been some recruits out there, so I might want to try that. I'm done with football. I'm not even worried about playing. The reason why I'm still getting recruited from semis is because they need these offensive line guys, and they think I'm just that good of a blocker. Like they know I don't play around, and I get feisty.
Yeah. All right, man. I'll catch you later, man. Thank you for having me on, brother.
All right, you too, man.
See you later, man.